just did an NFC Playoffs Predictions video, and now AJ will host this one.
AFC Playoff Predictions, baby. It's a tight wild card race. Who do we have? Check it out. Talk with us. Converse. I'm going to stop talking.
3, 2, 1.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you haven't already seen our NFC Playoff Predictions video, before you do anything else, go ahead and check that out. Unless you're here with us live, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is AJ Herschel, the Kid, and I'm here with Caedmon Bauer. What's the order? Is it your name and then your nickname? Is it Caedmon Bubba? Is it How do you want me to say that? How do you want me to introduce you?
Yeah, now I'm just thinking about that. Should it be Caedmon Bauer Bubba or Caedmon Bubba Bauer?
That sounds better. Having the nickname
Which
at
one?
the end is weird. Caedmon Bubba Bauer.
All right,
We'll
I'll
go with
change that.
All right, there you go. Caedmon Bubba Bauer checking in with AFC Playoff Predictions on the one and only Allied Rivals podcast. Chung's channels already in the house. What's up? Thanks for checking in. Hope you have a good time listening to us. Be sure to comment on what you think on the AFC predictions. Caedmon, it's been like 2 seconds since our last podcast. How you doing?
True. You know what? Not much has changed, but I really enjoyed our last episode. And that's pretty much it.
All right.
And you should go check it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Caedmon led that one. You've got to go check it out. It was awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and get started with our AFC predictions, I just want to let you guys know, be sure to go ahead and check out some Allied Rival shorts. We have a full playlist up on our YouTube homepage now. Go ahead and check those out. Also, hopefully later this week, not only will we have our playoff predictions tonight, we'll also be coming out with our award predictions. You got your MVP, Rookie of the Year on offense and defense, Coach of the Year. Be sure to look out for that. Keep that ringer. Keep that bell on. Josiah Chung's channel, Chung's Josiah channel. I don't know. This is Josiah. What's up, man? Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Let us know what your opinions are. Caedmon, let's go ahead and start with you. There's a lot of competitive divisions and a lot of competitive teams out there, but let's start with your AFC East champion. What's your prediction looking like so far?
Yeah, okay, so when you look at this division, I mean, so you have Miami after, you have the Bills, Miami, New England, and the Jets. So can we eliminate the Jets? I think so.
I think so. If they're not mathematically eliminated already, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think statistically, pretty much from every position they are, though. Yeah. And then you have New England, who we just talked about in the NFC Playoffs Predictions video, that we think it'll be, or at least I think it'll be next year, just because they don't have enough wide receivers for Cam, and their defense has been kind of riddled with injuries. And once it's all together, I think next year they're going playoffs. After that, okay, see, Miami, Buffalo. I think Buffalo's the better team. They were kind of a weird team to start, but I think they're starting to develop more. I think Josh Allen is really getting more comfortable. I think their whole offense is developing. Defense is a little iffy sometimes, but when they need to, like recently when they really need to stop playing conservative and really get it going, they do. And their secondary has only gotten better. So I'm going to give this to the division winner, to the Bills. And I feel like most of you probably saw that coming. And it's just because they don't have a terribly hard schedule. They're already leading the division, and things should just be kind of rolling continuously how they are right now. They could be a team, honestly, with their schedule that goes like 12-4, 13-3. It should be a pretty easy take for the AFC East going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think I have any disagreements with you there. Tua Tagovailoa is playing extremely well, but Josh Allen is, when he's on fire, and he's next to unstoppable. They definitely have questions on defense, but having 7 wins already through 9 games, that's definitely going to help you out a lot. I completely agree.
Yeah, and I think one more thing to add to that, they beat Seattle, and that just makes them makes them look so much better, honestly. And the only teams that it seems like they could lose to would be the Cardinals possibly, but they beat Seattle, so they would just have to keep their offense going in that game. And then Pittsburgh. And I mean, they Pittsburgh's
and Kansas
looking
City.
Yeah, true. And Kansas City. You can never
Kansas City
disregard.
can kind of just beat anyone.
But we'll talk about them later. AJ, you going Bills, right? You going Bills?
Yeah, I'm going Bills. Their defense definitely has questions, but they're gonna win over Miami, I think. Let's see. We got a comment from Chunk's channel. The Bills are gonna win it all in a close Bills-Steelers Super Bowl. So that is not possible. If it's Bills-Steelers AFC Championship, EW coming in. They're both AFC. Yeah, that's
there we
not
go.
possible. There we go.
NFC Championship, I could see. No, not Super Bowl. Sorry, but that's okay. All right, AJ.
All right. Well, we're already talking about them, so let's go ahead.
Next?
I'm going with my AFC North champion is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And also, Mike Tomlin, can we just give credit to this guy? He won 8 games last year with basically only a defense. James Conner was injured. Juju wasn't himself. He had Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges throwing, and they went 8-8 last year. This year, they are 8-0. Man, this dude is definitely one of the best coaches out there. So credit to him. He's never had a losing season. Huge credit to him. Also, I think on top of that, their defense in almost every metric is top 3. Almost every metric. Run defense, pass defense, everywhere across the field. Minka Fitzpatrick, even though they lost Deion Bush even, they still have TJ Watt, who's trying to make a push for Defensive Player of the Year. Their defense is insane. And Big Ben might be questionable and banged up and just kind of weird with his play style at times. They're undefeated. I don't see them dropping games to the Bengals. I don't see them dropping a game to the Jaguars. And I definitely don't see them dropping a game to the stinking Browns with absolutely no I don't see them dropping a game to the Browns without Odell. So I think the Steelers are going to roll into the playoffs for sure. Lamar and the Ravens, they're going to keep things competitive, but they just had so many issues with the passing game on offense. They can run the ball well, but Lamar has regressed a lot from last year. Browns are kind of a hot mess, and the Bengals might be the best 2-win team you've ever seen, but they have no offensive line. Credit to the Steelers. They've made a decent wide receiving core work. Connor's good. Their offensive line is just incredible, and their defense is, if not the best, top 3 in the league. I think the Steelers are going to take the AFC North. I think they're going to take it pretty handily, especially with the schedule they have.
Yeah, and I mean, they beat the Browns before when they had OBJ and their offense was looking good. Now they don't. Should be an easy win there. The only 2 games that they should lose or could lose really would be Buffalo and Baltimore.
Agreed.
And I think those are pretty self-explanatory. But the Steelers have been winning too many way too close games. It seems every game, or at least almost every game, that should be an easy win for them is down to the wire.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think they're definitely going to make it into the playoffs. They have such an easy schedule from here on out. But as far as going deep into the playoffs, which I know we're not really talking about that right now, but as far as going deep into the playoffs, I don't see them going too deep unless they start winning games. By a bigger deficit, because too close. Yeah,
I think I would completely agree with you on that. Their best performance is definitely their 38-7 drubbing of Cleveland. And I mean, the Ravens, you can make the argument, the Ravens and Steelers, they're always close games. Like, that's just natural for one of the best rivalries in football. But they completely dematerialized in the second half against Tennessee. They let the Cowboys and Eagles hang around for a long time. Their offense definitely needs to have a spark. They do well in a half, and then they do not great in the other half. Their defense is the only consistent thing. If their offense is consistent by the end of the year, they might be unstoppable. There's a reason this team is 8-0. And EW likes it. He says, here we go, Steelers. All right. We got a Steelers fan over here. Caedmon, let's move on. Speaking of the Steelers and Titans, and speaking of the Titans-Colts game tonight, they're actually playing for what's basically the fate of the top of the division.
Yeah.
Who do you have
Titans
sitting
are
atop
up.
the AFC South as of right now? And if you could, give us a game update on Thursday Night Football.
The Titans are currently up 7-0. It looks like Indianapolis is about to score, though.
They're in the red zone. They're in the red zone.
They are in the red zone. So that's always really, both of those offenses just kind of have to get going early. It looks like Derrick Henry hasn't really done much, but that's okay.
It's the beginning of the game. It's still
he'll get going.
It's the first quarter.
But I think I'm gonna AFC South, man. I'm going to give it to the Titans just because I think Derrick Henry is really unstoppable. Seriously. And that's not over-exaggerating. He will plow people over all the time. And they don't necessarily have the easiest schedule. They play the Colts and then the Ravens. And then they play the Colts again and the Packers. And that's not fun. And then the Texans at the end. I mean, they have a good offense, it seems like. Defense, no. So really, you just got to keep scoring if you're Tennessee, and it should be a nice walk into the playoffs. But that brings up something else, the Colts. So I am saying the Titans for sure. But the Colts, not sure what to think of them because defense should be – I mean, it is great. Secondary defensive line, it's great. But I was expecting it to be a little bit better just because they don't necessarily have the hardest schedule in the league, and they have so much talent. I think part of it has been injury, COVID, opting out. That's obviously part of it. But I think it should be a little bit better, and I'm sure it'll get better as the season progresses. But then after that, okay, Houston, Jacksonville, they're basically out at this point. It's just Houston has started to get it going, but it's just too late.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in complete agreement with you. When the Titans offense is clicking, they're clicking. Like they scored 24 points and a half against one of the best defenses in football in Pittsburgh. So when AJ Brown is going well, when Derrick Henry is going well, this team is great. They can tear up terrible to mediocre run defense. Like the Bills don't have that bad of a run defense, and we saw Derrick Henry just destroy them. Henry, in my opinion, is the strongest back in football right now. He can run anybody over. And EW brings up a good point. The Colts receivers, Rivers has been making it work. To be fair, he's had a couple nice games in a row, but then they hit a wall against the Ravens. Taylor's banged up. Wilkins is okay. Hines blows up at random times. And I think their I think their record is really just because they had a cakewalk schedule. They got to play the Jaguars.
Okay.
And the Bears' terrible offense. And the Jets, the Vikings before they were good, and then they actually go in and play tougher teams. The Browns, the Bengals make it close. They get obliterated by the Ravens in the second half. I don't see them beating Titans, Packers, and especially not the Steelers later in the year. I'm totally with Titans for you. I'm totally with you on Titans for this one.
Yeah, we got EW in the comment section here. He says Titans for sure, Colts, and I'm going to agree with that. But he says Colts have no receivers and no run game. And I'm going to push that back on that a little bit. I think Jonathan Taylor has been playing decently well considering what he has, like offensive line, and just not the best play calling either, honestly. Some things like the defense.
Sorry, go ahead.
Defense seems to be able to read, anytime the Colts are playing. Defense seems like they're reading the Colts offense perfectly. And I think that's maybe partly because of the play calling. I'm not totally sure. But I'm gonna sort of agree with the no receivers thing, but not really totally, because it's not like they don't have a Michael Thomas. They don't have one stud wide receiver, but they have a lot of guys who have plenty of receiving yards. Like what looks like they have 5 guys that have over 200 receiving yards. And that doesn't mean they have no wide receivers. That just means they're spreading the ball around really well. And Phillip Rivers is he doesn't just have one target. And so I think it's actually really good how the Colts are producing their offense right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would completely disagree with you on the Jonathan Taylor part. Frank Reich came out and said, finally, which annoyed all of us fantasy owners, Taylor's been dealing with ankle injuries for back-to-back weeks. And guess what? It showed. He got his role completely usurped against the Lions. He was very, very poor. 11 carries for only 22 yards. Wilkins completely took over the backfield. Last week against the Ravens, once again, Jordan Wilkins led the backfield, and Taylor's fumbled in back-to-back games too. And Wilkins has been a fine replacement. Hines is a nice pass catching back, but yeah, it's been, I think the running game, especially as banged up as it's been, should be a lot better. And he does bring up the point that Paris Campbell is on IR and Pittman just came back off of injury, which I think that shows that they're depleted. Like, a lot of the time, Rivers has been hitting his tight ends. Mo Alley Cox became a star for a couple weeks. What's his name? Trey Burton came out of nowhere, was a star for a couple weeks. I think it's his tight ends, really. And honestly, EW, you're sounding like me who had T.Y. Hilton in one fantasy league. Yeah, T.Y. hasn't been doing great. Rivers is inconsistent. One day he'll show up and throw 3 touchdowns. The other he'll show up and throw 3 picks. The Colts are an inconsistent team, and I think that's what defines them, unfortunately, right now.
Running game, I think, yeah, he's obviously, because of injuries, not been as good as he should be. But he's still averaging 4 yards a carry, which you want to see, and that's not bad. But with T.Y. Hilton, it's not his fault. It's that Phillip Rivers in the offense has been really wanting to spread the ball around a lot. He's only gotten 22 receptions, and
well, he's also got the second most targets on the team, though. So you'd expect him to get a little bit more, like Nyheim Hines and
for sure. I mean, a little bit more. Recently. He's not looking like he has the great hands anymore. Like, I mean, he never has had the amazing hands, but it's been better than this for sure. But I mean, still, and I want to bring something back too with Jonathan Taylor. He's only had 106 rushes, which you want to see more than that. I like to see a running back getting the number one running back getting 20 rushes a game, and we have not seen that from Jonathan Taylor, which is too bad. But hey, I think Colts, and we'll talk about this later in this episode, but I think they're making the playoffs, and we'll talk about why. But AJ, what other divisions do we got left?
Yeah, we only got one. It's the AFC West, and we'll make this quick. It's going to be the Chiefs. It's going to be the. They're 8-1, and teams have. And I've seen people make arguments. I've seen people make arguments like, "Oh, the Bucs games, their losses have been a fluke." I don't believe their last loss was a fluke. I've heard the Saints' losses were a fluke. That I can understand because they didn't have Thomas. Emmanuel Sanders has been out for multiple weeks. So I can at least get the argument for that, right? Seattle losses, those aren't a fluke. Their defense is genuinely bad. Packers lost an offense. Yeah, I think it's a fluke, but their defense is very, very bad against the run. The Chiefs are the only team I think that you can say their loss was a fluke. They had one bad game against the Raiders, got beat with the deep ball, and guess what? They fixed it. Even the Panthers played them close with McCaffrey, but guess what? As soon as they came off that loss to the Raiders, totally shut down Josh Allen in Buffalo. They didn't do anything until late in the game. Backups are in. Obliterated the Broncos, ended the Jets' career, and hung on to beat Christian McCaffrey. And the rest of their schedule is very, very nice. I think they beat the Raiders. I think they beat the Broncos. I think they beat the Falcons. I think they beat the Chargers. Their defense is not good. They definitely have some nice primetime matchups against the Buccaneers, the surging Dolphins, and, of course, the New Orleans Saints. But this is still one of the most complete teams in football. Patrick Mahomes is an MVP candidate again. He's thrown one interception all year. The dude is a freak of nature. Even with Kalichios Mele going out, however you pronounce his name, their offensive line is still great. They haven't even needed to use CEH and Le'Veon recently, and their defense has completely stepped it up since the Raiders game. They're looking like the most complete team in football. We've had questions about the Steelers, but especially recently, there's not that many questions. There's not that many questions with Kansas City.
I have nothing to say about that. I'm in complete agreement.
Yeah, Casey's good. So let's finish up with the AFC wild cards. There's 3 of them. It's very competitive, Caedmon. There's a whole lot of teams that want those playoff spots. There's the Dolphins, Raiders, Drew Lock's trying to make a push, Ravens, Browns, Colts. Who do you have as your 3 playoff teams?
Okay, so let's start with the Browns. They're not going to make it because their offense was only good when OBJ was playing, and even then it wasn't anything too special. Defense, almost
Keep
nothing.
in mind, though, they get Nick Chubb back this week. Keep in mind they get Nick Chubb back.
Tis true, but they need the passing game as well, and it's not getting any better. So I'm going to eliminate them, and it might be a little bit early, but I'm gonna count them out right now. And then you look at, let's see. I'll just list the other teams that are basically out right now: Jaguars, Texans, Bengals, Chargers, Jets, Patriots, I'm still going to say, and the Broncos. So that leaves you with Miami. That leaves you with Las Vegas, Baltimore, and Indianapolis, and only 3 of them can make it. So I'm going to start with Baltimore. They have an easy schedule, and I think they're definitely going to make it. Yeah, I don't know what more to say. Tiptoe into the playoffs, and that's pretty much it. After that, Las Vegas Raiders, and I was debating between them and the Colts, but the Colts have such a hard schedule, and I think AJ kind of persuaded me to go with the Raiders because they just have such an easier schedule than the Colts. I mean, you look at the Colts, and they're playing the Titans right now. I'll give you a score update. They're still down 7-0.
7-3. Rodrigo kicked the field goal.
Yeah, I just did. Sorry, my bad.
No, you good.
Seems like the Colts cannot get into the end zone, and that's not just now. I'm not just saying that because of what just happened. That's like what I don't remember their kicker's name, but whenever I check stats, what's his name? Is their kicker's name
Rodrigo Blankenship? Yeah, my boy out of UGA.
He is great, and he is getting so many attempts. And it is because the Colts cannot get into the end zone. Yes, sir. So I'm gonna just Raiders over the Colts, and then why aren't the Colts making it over the Dolphins? And here's why. Well, first, I said before, but Colts have an easy schedule. A ridiculously hard schedule. Dolphins, you know what? They have won so many games that that before this season they should have lost, but they have proved over the start that they're really a good team and that they're becoming more complete. I like Fitzmagic, but unfortunately, he's not been doing much past couple games.
Well, because Tua is starting. Now.
That's why.
Yep.
And looks kind of bad, but hopefully it doesn't. I don't think Tua's going to be too bad. I don't think he's going to be too bad. He seems like one of the more reliable backup QBs in the league. But they also have a pretty easy schedule. All right, let me read this to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they play the Chargers, the Broncos,
nice.
Jets, and the Bengals.
Nice. That's a good 4-game stretch.
And they just came off wins against Arizona and LA. And if you're the Dolphins, you can't think like that is the best thing you can oh man, no one would have saw this coming, man.
Mm-hmm.
So after the Bengals, you get the Chiefs, okay, probably a loss. But then you get New England, Las Vegas, and then Buffalo, that's probably a loss. So maybe you end up with 10-6 record at the worst, in my opinion. And so I think really it's just the difference in their schedules. And honestly, it looks like the Miami Dolphins are just getting better every game. Fitzpatrick out, that's too bad. But I think they're still a really good team, and they have such a good chance to make it into the playoffs with their schedule compared to the Colts that have to give it to the Baltimore Ravens, Las Vegas Raiders, and the Miami Dolphins. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Funny enough, I mean, and I promise you guys, I promise to everybody out there, this was not scripted, but yeah, I'm the same. Baltimore Ravens, they're going to walk in. And we're not talking today about how deep they're going to make it into the playoffs. We're talking about whether they're going to make it to the playoffs or not. Ravens are going to make it. They've got such a great run team, and they can run over almost anybody in the league. The only exception so far has basically been Pittsburgh. And even J.K. Dobbins got 100 yards on them. Like, the Ravens can run it down your throat, and they've got a pretty soft schedule. They're already 6-2. They're very talented, and despite Lamar's mini slump, he's still a great player. They're going to make it. Las Vegas Raiders are definitely a really weird team. They win and lose on a whim, and their defense is iffy at best, probably. But I think they have a nice schedule. I think they'll beat the Broncos. I think they'll beat the Falcons. They're going to obliterate the Jets. I think now this is interesting, Caedmon. We talked about the Raiders and the Dolphins playing each other. Raiders get the Dolphins and the Raiders get the Colts. So some of these games could be the deciding factor in who makes the playoffs or not.
It's
and
true.
I think it's going to be the Raiders, and I think it's going to be the Dolphins. Raiders, Derek Carr's been playing well. Josh Jacobs, while not necessarily efficient, he's been staying healthy, and he can break out big runs at any opportunity. And look, here's my thing with the Colts, guys. They haven't beaten anyone. Who have they beaten? The Vikings when they were bad? The Bears and their mediocre offense? Like that's it. And then they beat the Bengals. They haven't beaten any very solid teams. So especially we talk about how rough their end of season schedule is. They play the Titans tonight and get them again in 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to beat the Packers. I don't think they're going to beat the Raiders on the road, and I sure don't think they're going to beat the Steelers, who at that point will be fighting with the Chiefs for the number 1 spot in the only bye week in the playoffs. I don't see the Colts making it out. They haven't beaten anyone, and they haven't beaten anyone, any really good playoff contenders. I don't see them making it. And look, the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, he ain't the backup no more. He's the starter. There's a reason that they drafted him at the beginning, and this is looking like this is going to be one of the best quarterback draft classes since 2012. That was when we had Luck, Tannehill, Wilson, Cousins. This one is also very, very talented. Burrow, Tua, Herbert. We talked about this so much, especially at the beginning of the year. I was really excited about it. And Tua's in. Everyone was confused by that Ben Fitzpatrick. He was doing fine, and Tua showed up and knocked off Arizona, who beat Seattle. Miami is for real. Their defense is underrated. Their defense is like shockingly good. Their front seven is stalwart. I think Miami's going to take it, and their schedule's pretty friendly, like you said, especially in the upcoming weeks. Colts, I don't think are going to be able to hang with the big dogs when it comes to the end of the season.
Yeah, and let me just read you the Colts' previous schedule, like their wins and losses. Yeah. They lost to Jacksonville.
Week 1. It was week 1.
First
Stuff happens.
game, that's okay. You beat Minnesota, you beat the Jets, you beat the Bears, you lose to the Browns, and that's not good. I mean, you have OBJ.
Well, that was when they had Odell,
who was good, but defense was not doing much. Beat the Bengals, oh boy, you beat the Lions, cool. Lose to the Ravens, you play the Titans. The Packers, the Titans, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. So if you're wondering why we did not put the Colts up, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I completely
sorry.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Yeah, Lightning Bauer says Miami's going to get a wild card. We're in full agreement with you on that one. And EW2 is the starter now because he's the future of the Dolphins. We all knew that. There's a reason they drafted him at 6. Love Fitzpatrick, but he's benched now because he's bad. But because Tua is good. Yeah, we saw him in Alabama. And look, I'm a Georgia fan. I watch SEC football every single week, right? Tua was incredible. He's an incredible pocket passer. He can throw on the run. He's very, very accurate. And I think it was Jared from RotoHackers who brought up one time, look, he's like Andrew Luck if he didn't get injured. And, then he decided he went and got injured against Mississippi State. He comes back and he is all out firing. It's taken him 2 games to get into mid-season mode. Tua Tagovailoa is for real. Nope. Caedmon, I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to say about the AFC playoff race?
Nope, but I don't know. I don't know. AJ, can I just ask you one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's been a lot of talk that they should add another wild card spot. And AJ, what do you think?
Well, the NFL, we didn't talk about this, but breaking news, the NFL actually approved that if they're not going to be able to play enough games, they will expand the playoffs to 16 teams. They will add an extra playoff spot, which for us could mean in the NFC, Vikings or Bears get in the AFC, that could mean the Colts to get in, right? So if for some reason the NFL, unfortunately, compared to the MLB, NHL, and NBA, has done the worst job of containing a lot of the cases that they've had, well, okay, MLB had a lot of problems, but compared to the NBA and NHL, we'll say that NFL has definitely had some issues, and they may expand to 16 teams if they're not able to play the entirety of the season. At this rate, I think we see how the 17 playoff goes. I don't think we should add 8 because then that's going to either make no bye weeks. And I think that's something that teams get to push for. I think it was a brilliant decision to only have 1 bye week in the entire season because now guess what? Everyone's going to be chasing for that. Everyone's going to have to play a full 16 weeks. You don't get to cakewalk into the playoffs because you finished 14-2 and the other team finished 13-3. You have to fight to earn your playoff spot. I like the decision. I think we're good right now.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable, like it would be reasonable if they make that decision. But I think it'll make the playoffs feel a little bit long. Like I don't know. Playoffs are nice in the NFL because they're short. Like the MLB, I think it takes a little bit too long. NBA, kind of same thing. Thing nice about the NFL is it's just the one game. You have to put it all on the line that game. And if you have to keep doing that over and over again, I don't know, teams like injuries, that's going to mess some up. Just different things. And I don't want to see the playoffs get any longer. It could happen, but that's okay.
I think we've hit a good balance around 7 right now.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's good. I don't really. I mean, I've heard talk of 9, and that'd just be too much.
No,
that would just be
that's
too,
over half the league. That ruined the whole idea of getting into the playoffs as an accomplishment. No.
Yeah, I don't want to see that either. But AJ, do you have anything else?
I don't. And I think that's a good word to end us off on, Caedmon. Lightning Bauer, Chung's channel, and our man EW. I'm actually not sure, but EW, thank you so much, all of y'all, for tuning in.
Amazing.
Had a great conversation, had a great comment section. Be sure everyone watching the replay to be sure to drop like and subscribe and everything. I mean, y'all have been on YouTube before. You guys know how this works. Leave a comment. Let us know what other stuff you want us to talk about. We've got an NFL awards prediction coming up hopefully later this week. We will see about that. And also at some point an MLB free agency episode as requested by viewers. So be sure to leave comments and we'll try to get to all of those. Caedmon, anything you got? I'm about to log off. Anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, we will see you guys later. Be sure to check out our Allied Rivals shorts that we have a playlist finally on our homepage. We'll see you guys next time on the one and only Allied Rivals podcast.
See ya.